All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to share just a quick 30 minutes with us. We are excited about the information that we have to share with you. My name is Julie. I'll be your host this evening. And myself, along with the person who invited you to this call, we are a part of this amazing community called the Healthy Living Revolution. And our goal is to come alongside of individuals and families and help them to take their health back in ways that are simple, doable, and fun. So we're excited to provide you with some education and solution this evening. So just go ahead and take a second to relax and kind of take it all in. So we are passionate because there are two really startling trends that are happening in our world today. And the first is that our environmental toxins are increasing. So whether this is products you're putting on your skin, the air that you're breathing, the water that you're drinking, the food that you're eating, the pharmaceuticals that you're taking, our world is so much more toxic today than it was for our ancestors. And at the same time that our world is becoming more toxic, our food quality is severely decreasing. So I love this image because this gentleman is shopping in the center aisles of the grocery store. And I know I made a significant change in my diet about 8 to 10 years ago, and I stopped looking at calories and fat, and I started looking at the ingredients in my food. And I was shocked when I realized that most of what I was eating wasn't really food, but it was more food-like products. And these were things that I was buying that I thought were healthy, right? I specifically remember a certain bread that I was spending way too much money on, and the ingredient list was like this long. It was full of things I didn't know and I couldn't pronounce. And so usually when we're shopping in these center aisles of the grocery store is when we're buying more of these food-like products. And what's scary about this is that our food should be our first line of defense. But unfortunately, it's one of the biggest contributors to the toxicity in our environment. So our food is full of preservatives, enhancers, artificial colors, hormones, and the results are really scary. This is Dr. David Katz. He's at the head of prevention at Yale. He is brilliant. I had the amazing opportunity to hear him speak in person. And he shared years ago that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. And since he said that, it's been proven true that if we don't make changes, this will be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. In fact, over the last 3 years, the CDC has decreased the life expectancy every single year, which is really alarming because we are in a time when we have more medical advances than we have ever had. So the fact that we are doing something that is causing our life expectancy to go backwards is really scary. It's going to get a little depressing here for a second. Just hold on. By age 12, many of our children have developed the beginning stages of hardening of the arteries. 1 in 3 children is obese. 1 in 3 will develop diabetes in their lifetime. And more than 25% of children take prescription drugs on a regular basis. This is Dr. Bill Sears. He's known as America's pediatrician. He actually found our community over 20 years ago when he himself was diagnosed with colon cancer. And he shares that really us adults aren't faring any better. So 1 in 3 people live with some form of cardiovascular disease. It is the #1 killer. 1 in 3 women will have cancer and 1 in 2 men. And that stat just really blows my mind. I think because that is not well known. 1 in 3 women will have cancer and 1 in 2 men. That is staggering. 1 in 3 will have diabetes by 2050 and 1 in 3 is obese. But that's the end of the depressing information. The reason why we're excited is because of this quote here on the bottom. 75% of all chronic disease is preventable. And while there will definitely be things that, we deal with in our life that we have no control over. And the truth is that we haven't known for years that some of our lifestyle choices were leading to some of these chronic diseases. In fact, my mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and that falls into this boat of chronic lifestyle related disease. And the truth is that many Americans are dying of lifestyle related diseases. And there are things that we can do, and there are ways that we can feel empowered instead of discouraged. So oxidative stress is linked to poor health. Well, what the heck is oxidative stress? Well, oxidative stress is the root of all disease, aging, and death. Okay, so it's happening in our body all the time. As long as we're breathing, we have oxidative stress. There's nothing we can do about that. Although we do things sometimes that worsen it, like staying up too late, smoking, drinking, that can cause an increase in oxidative stress, but so can being pregnant and exercise. So sometimes it's good behaviors, not so good behaviors that can cause this increase in disease and aging. And so what oxidative stress is these free radicals that are in our body that are just pinging our cells over and over and over again. And every time they ping your cell, they cause damage to your cell. But Mother Nature knew that we would have this oxidation in our body, and they gave us a perfect answer in the form of antioxidants. So when we eat antioxidants, they go in and they donate an electron to the free radical, and they neutralize the free radical. So a great way to think about it is to imagine an apple. When you cut open an apple and that flesh is exposed to the oxygen, it begins to brown, to rust, to age. But we know that if we take lemon juice, an antioxidant, and we squeeze it over that flesh, it delays the aging process. So that really is what antioxidants do for us internally, is they're anti-aging, both internally and externally. So that really is our best defense. And we know where we get antioxidants from, right? From fruits and vegetables. But today's mass-produced produce is packing a much less nutritional punch. So there's two main reasons for this. The first is soil depletion, which I'm not going to go into tonight, but you should Google it. If you're curious, it's something to be aware of. But the second is that it's mass produced. So I can go up to Schnucks and buy just about any fruit or vegetable that I'd like. But in order for that quantity to be available to us the way that it is, we are picking our plants long before they are ripened on the vine. And our fruits and vegetables get about over 80% of their nutrition within the last 24 to 48 hours of ripening on the vine. So I heard this being compared to a baby, and I think that this is a brilliant comparison. So we know the difference of a baby born at 40 weeks and 38 weeks, 38 weeks, 36 weeks, 36 weeks, 34 weeks. And that fruit or vegetable is the baby of that plant. And we are removing that fruit or vegetable long from its nutrient source long before it is ripened. And the results of that are really scary too. This is the iron content that was present in a bowl of spinach in 1953. And in 1997, you had to eat 43 bowls of spinach to get the same iron content that you got in 1953. So I actually believe that this slide is a big reason for those really scary statistics from the doctors that I shared earlier, because I think we all are to the point where we know fruits and vegetables are good for us. I just don't think we realize the uphill battle that we're facing and how depleted our nutrition is. This was over 20 years ago, so we know it's not looking any better today, and we're only talking about iron. So one thing that many people don't realize is this leaf of spinach, we're saying iron, but there's actually thousands of nutrients present in a spinach leaf. Right here is an apple. Here are 400 named ingredients that they have found in an apple. They've named 400 of them, but they found over 20,000. They have found over 14,000 in an avocado and over 25,000 in one blueberry. And what happened was, back in the 1950s and 1960s, we knew that we had a deficiency. And so we thought that there were 12 essential nutrients in food at that time, 12. And I just told you they found over 20,000 in an apple. So we took those 12 that we thought were in food that we needed. We isolated man-made, put it in a vitamin. We thought we were bridging the gap. But as we know, we have not gotten any healthier over the past 60 to 80 years. Vitamins are not really bridging the gap for us. And we're starting to really realize just how plentiful and abundant our plants are. And many people say that we're just scratching the surface, that we'll probably never really know everything that's present. But what we do know, if you look at this list of nutrients in an apple, is that they each work synergistically together. So ingredient number 7 and 4,001 and 20,002 work perfectly in our body. And if you are a vitamin taker, maybe you've done it where, you're taking vitamin K. I'm just throwing out random vitamins. I don't know, but you're taking vitamin K and then you hear, oh, you got to take selenium with it to activate the vitamin K. And if you take selenium, you got to take magnesium to activate the selenium. And that's because there aren't any vitamin trees out there, right? There's an apple tree that has vitamin K and selenium and magnesium in it perfectly in the right amounts to activate one another. So there's two awesome examples of synergy that I love to share. And the first is that an apple itself only has 5.7 milligrams of vitamin C. But when you eat it and digest it, it's the equivalent of taking a 1,500 milligram isolated vitamin C tablet. Also, lycopene is one of the many nutrients that they have found in a tomato, and it's known to fight prostate cancer. But they're finding that when they remove the lycopene from the tomato, it has no effect on the cancer. So again, we really don't have a vitamin deficiency, but more of a whole food deficiency. So for a long time, the government said 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Then they realized we were not getting enough, and they increased it to 7 to 13. But that's if you don't exercise and you're healthy. If you're fighting disease, if you exercise, if you're pregnant, you actually need 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I try really hard and I get about 5. And then they did this big campaign saying more matters, and that is accurate. There are some studies that say in the next 50 years, we will need 30 servings a day to fight the toxicity in our environment. So I'm so thankful, and those who will be sharing tonight, that at some point in our journey, Juice Plus came along. And I love to give the backstory of Juice Plus because I think it's amazing. It was developed over 30 years ago by a doctor. His name was Dr. Smokey Santillo. He was a holistic practitioner that helped cancer patients juice. And his dad was diagnosed with lymphoma, and he was given 3 weeks to live. And Dr. Smokey knew the power of plants, so he decided he had to find a way to take his juice and make it more powerful for his dad. So instead of just juicing the fruits and vegetables, he decided to take the whole plant with the pit, the peel, the rind, the seeds, even the leaves from the vine whenever possible, because a lot of the nutrition is in the parts that we throw away. He took that whole plant or that whole fruit and vegetable, he blended it in a Vitamix. He took what was left over, which was a slurry. He dehydrated that slurry at a cold temperature, and that resulted in a powder, what we like to call powdered produce. So our capsules are full of powder. And then he just pumped his dad full of this powder. And his dad ended up living for 6 more years. Not only did he live, but he had quality of life, which is so rare in cancer patients today. And it was at that point that Dr. Smokey knew that he was on to something. It took him a couple of years to find our company. It was important to Dr. Smokey that he partnered with a company like this that was going to share this information this way, because it's not a vitamin or a supplement. It can't sit on a store shelf. It has to be explained as you're getting tonight. And so he found that company over 25 years ago. Juice Plus has been on the market for 25 years, which is amazing. So before I move on to what makes Juice Plus so cool, I want you to take a second to look at this variety on this page, the variety in color, just the uniqueness. I mean, some of these fruits and vegetables I've never even eaten before, but I get them every day through my Juice Plus. And I want you to know, if you imagine what was in that apple, you saw that those 400 nutrients, which there's many more than that. Food is information to our body. So if they want to test you for breast cancer, they will give you the same mineral that every time you get it, it goes directly to your breast. And all of those nutrients in that apple, they do the same thing in your body every single time. So if you can imagine having this variety of food and this variety of nutrients, all of these different colors consistently every day going to these different areas in your body. And imagine what that would do, week over week, month over month, year over year. It's pretty profound. So now there's 3 things that make Juice Plus super unique. And the first is my favorite. It's food. So our products have a nutrition label. I don't know if you can see it. A nutrition label, not a vitamin or a supplement label. You cannot overdose on it. There's no warning label. When my kids were 6 months old, I opened up the capsules and I put it into their food. If you can eat food, if you can eat fruits and vegetables, you can eat Juice Plus. There are patients in the hospital that get it opened up and put into their feeding tubes, okay? That made sense to me. So this is full of all those nutrients that you saw in the apple, not isolated synthetic ingredients. Non-GMO, dairy-free, and gluten-free. It's NSF certified. NSF is a third party that validates that what we say is in our product is, and nothing more. It's the highest level of certification you can receive. We've had it for over 20 years. But the reason why I love the NSF certification is because they ensure that these powders are free of any herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, yeast, mold, bacteria, and heavy metals. And that's way better than the organic produce I can buy from the store. So that's what gives me peace of mind to give it to my children and put it in our bodies every single day. It's also why the U.S. women's volleyball team just named Juice Plus their exclusive nutritional support. It's because of that certification. Olympic athletes and professional athletes can take Juice Plus. And then finally, when it hit the market 25 years ago, people started having unique experiences. So whether this was, well, you'll hear some soon. But they decided they wanted to see, what is this doing on human beings with blood run? And we are the most researched nutritional product in the world. We actually have 38 published studies now. We have 9 underway. We've been researched at Brigham Young, MD Anderson Cancer Center, Vanderbilt, Yale, some of the most prestigious facilities here in the States and abroad. So this is not done in like a Juice Plus lab. We have partnered with some of the top in our country and have been published in some of the best medical journals that we have. So I'm going to take a second to tell you my favorite study because it's amazing. So this study was done at the University of Maryland and published in the JACC, and it was the brainchild of a group of cardiologists. And these cardiologists know that over 50% of heart attacks happen 4 hours after consuming a high-fat meal. And they wanted to see the effects of Juice Plus on heart health. So they took a group of people to McDonald's. They fed them a pretty standard McDonald's breakfast, and then they waited 4 hours and they measured the constriction in their brachial artery. And so if you look right here, this gray bar is the constriction that they had 4 hours later. So everybody had about 40 to 50% constriction just 4 hours later. And then they divided the group up into three. They put one group on a placebo. They put one group on our fruits and our veggies. And then the last group was on our fruits, veggies, and our berry blend. And then they waited just 28 days. So that the purple bar is 28 days later. They took them back to McDonald's, fed them the same breakfast, waited 4 hours, measured the constriction in their artery. You can see the placebo group had a slight reduction. They also had the least amount of constriction to begin with. The group on the fruits and the veggies, they had over 60% less constriction just 28 days later. And then the group on all three with our berries, they went from almost 50% constriction down to less than 3% constriction. And that is amazing. And here's why I love this study. These people changed nothing else. Okay, so I think that in this time of wellness, and we're learning so much about food and what we can do and things that we can change, I think it can be easy to become overwhelmed and say, well, if I'm not perfect, I'm just not even going to do anything. But the truth is that doing something that's good is better than eliminating all of the bad, right? And so these people's bodies responded to just 6 capsules full of powdered produce for 28 days. And they still ate the McDonald's, but their body did much better even though they still ate the McDonald's. So we are not about being perfect. We are not about uprooting your whole entire lifestyle, but we are about helping you add in a simple change that you can maintain, and so can your children. So then our core product is our fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules. And we also have these delicious shakes. They come in chocolate and vanilla. They fill your belly. So these are a good snack or meal. They're low glycemic, so they stabilize your blood sugar. The number one thing my friends tell me is that they actually keep them full. And that's not because it has like 50 grams of protein. It's because it keeps your blood sugar stable. They're vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free, full of plants and powerful prebiotic fibers and oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides help to heal the lining of your gut. And that's really important at a time right now when many people are dealing with leaky gut issues. So these are so good. My family, my kids, we live on them. The capsules are going to help you with your micronutrition, and our shakes are more of a macronutrition solution, also with a lot of amazing micronutrition in them. And then finally, coming up this October, we will have launched our Omega Blend. Will have been around for 2 years. And what our company saw is that, most every American has a deficiency in high quality omegas. We know that omegas support the heart, brain, joints, skin, and eyes. And many people are bridging the gap with a fish oil, but fish oils have some problems. Number one, our fish are toxic. So we started out the talk talking about how we have an increase in toxicity in our environment. But number two, it's not sustainable. It takes 3 to 4 pounds of fish to create 1 ounce of fish oil. So what's pretty cool is that the fish actually get their omega oil from the algae. So we decided just to skip the fish, go straight to the algae. We decided to go only to plants and to make it a full spectrum omega. So omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So it makes it much more sustainable coming from plants. And then this is the only omega on the market that has the technology to be cold pressed. So if you're currently taking an omega supplement and it's fully encapsulated, they have to heat up that capsule in order to encapsulate it, and that heats up the oil inside and degrades the quality of the oil. So I will tell you my story with the omegas at the end of the call, but I am crazy about them. They're absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to wrap this part up with this quote from Dr. Richard Du Bois. He was head of infectious disease in Atlanta, Georgia. He's been named America's top doc. He was one of the first of now thousands of healthcare professionals to recommend Juice Plus. The number one thing people say when they hear about it is, if it's so good, how come everybody isn't talking about it? And what I want you to know, even though we've been around for 25 years, this is still very much a grassroots movement. 25 years in the scheme of things is not really that long. It's just unheard of in the supplement world, right? So he was one of the first of thousands of healthcare professionals to recommend it, and thousands of healthcare professionals do recommend Juice Plus. But there are still many that don't even know it exists. So maybe you'll tell them about it, but that's why you may not have heard of it yet. But Dr. Richard Du Bois says, there is nothing available anywhere else in the world with or without a prescription that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does. And that is really profound. So at this point, I am going to stop talking and ask Kristen to unmute herself and just share with us why she decided to add in Juice Plus and what she's seen. So take it away.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, everybody, for joining tonight. Yeah, I will try to make my experience short, but I realize that more and more things keep happening to my family the longer we're on this. So it began almost 2 years ago after my daughter was born, and I had always been a healthy individual. I was an athlete in high school and college, and just always pictured myself as someone who was healthy, ate pretty well, worked out. But after my daughter was born, my health started declining, and I was having these worsening health episodes. We called them weak spells, didn't know what else to call them, where in the middle of the day, I would have to lay down for a couple of hours and rest and drink lots of fluids and try to eat and snack to just regain my strength. I couldn't do anything with kids. It got to a point where it started increasing in the frequency throughout the week. So instead of just happening once a week, it started happening like 3 or 4 or 5 times a week. So it became something that kind of dictated my life because I didn't want to leave the house with my kids and have a weak spell. So it was really frustrating to me. And my friend Julie had actually been sharing with me what her family was doing with these powdered produce capsules. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, it's just fruits and veggies. I'm going to give it a try. And so I did. And I started on the trio, the fruit, the veggie, and the berries. And about 3 months in, I was having 0 weak spells. And fast forward to today, almost 2 years later, still have not had another weak spell. So what that said to me was that my body was desperately needing some sort of nutrition that I wasn't able to get from what I was eating. Like I said, we were very health conscientious and ate well, but obviously it wasn't enough. So that was amazing for me. And then shortly after that, we added in the plant-based omegas, and I was at the time in a really bad anxiety season of my life. And I didn't think anything of adding in the omegas to see any difference in my anxiety. But what I found was that having this awesome nutrition in my body, the fruits, the veggies, the berries, and the omegas all together working together, it was healing my gut, and the brain and gut connection, as we know, we're learning more and more about that. So I actually have seen a huge improvement in my anxiety, and I know a couple of my other friends have expressed that same thing. So I'm so, so thankful for that, especially as a mom. And then my husband, he was someone who just had a little bit more energy after being on the capsules for maybe a year or so. But now this is his 3rd or 4th season where he's not suffering from allergies, which for him, he was the kid who got allergy shots as a teenager. He was the person who had to take 2 different types of allergy medication. And if he didn't, or if he missed a day, he was suffering. Or if we traveled to a different area, went to the lake, his allergies would flare up and it would turn into a sinus infection. So the fact that he's been able to get off of all of his allergy meds, and he used to have to take it year-round. So that has just blown my mind recently. So he's really happy about that. We're just happy about our overall health. I'm actually, if I stood up right now, you'd see it, but I'm actually 37 weeks pregnant. And this has been a very healthy pregnancy. I have not needed or wanted to nap in the afternoons, which is pretty crazy. I have 2 little ones to watch as well. And I'm just loving the fact that I'm also getting in this whole food nutrition into my body every single day and starting this baby's life off with a really good foundation as well. So we're extremely happy with our journey, and this is something that I know we'll be taking for quite some time. So thanks, Julie. Hopefully that helps.
I think just the fact that we can't tell that you're 37, 38 weeks pregnant from your face, that says it all. I love it.
I am.
You look awesome. I love it. Okay, I'm going to throw it to our good friend Amy and ask Amy just to unmute herself and share her story. Take it away, Amy.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Kristen, you look so good. I just want to share how I got started on Juice Plus. We started about 3 years ago. My daughter Ella was 18 months at the time, and it was like winter. We were sick all the time. She was sick all the time. I had seen a couple of Julie's like social media posts, and I was like, oh, it's probably just something on the market, whatever. But then I kept seeing them, so then I grew more interested. So then we started talking. I was still extremely skeptical. I'm a nurse, so it's just like in my blood to be extremely skeptical of all things. But then I looked more into the research, more into where the research came from, how it was done. And so I was like, well, heck, let's just try this. So we started probably like February. I didn't really notice anything magical that year until winter came around. And then once winter came through, we were getting less colds. And even if we got a cold, it'd be like you'd get that tickle in the back of your throat. We'd double up and then it'd go away. That was magical. So we were feeling a lot better. My daughter Ella has asthma. This last winter, the first winter she did breathing treatments all through. Last winter, she still had to use her inhaler a few times. This past winter, we didn't have to use it at all. And she still had a couple colds here and there, but we didn't have to use it, which was a big, big deal for us. This spring, unfortunately for her, her allergies have been worse. But we're very thankful that she made it through a winter without needing much of anything. So this is just a nice plan for me as a mom. I know when I'm not able to feed them extra nutritious meals, if I haven't been to the store, if they get pizza one night, I still can feed them fruits and veggies. And they love their gummies. They love the capsules. They love the protein shakes. We do that as a snack. But this is just something that's part of our plan. And I think it's part of, like, recently I was thinking, my husband and I, we save for retirement financially. And I was thinking this is as much of a retirement plan as that is, because we want to be healthy in the future. If for nothing else, this is more preventative than anything. I'd rather take care of my health now rather than worry about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, whatever, when I'm 60 and then I have to, start from scratch. So this is just going to be something that's lifelong for us, and I like to have it in our plan. So thank you guys for listening.
I love that, Aim. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. And I love that nurse's skepticism and that she was able to really look into it and see that it was unique. So we love having Amy share. So briefly, I'm sorry, we're probably going to go a minute or two over. I just want to share my story with you really fast. I found the product coming up on 5 years ago, and I had spent 2 years prior looking into the connection between food and disease because of my mom's diagnosis with rheumatoid arthritis, and everything was telling me to juice and to eat more plants. And so when I found Juice Plus, I felt like somebody hit the easy button, and I was so excited. And really what pumped me up was that I could give it to my son at 6 months old. And now I have a almost 5 and 3 year old, and they've been having that since 6 months old. But I got on it with zero expectations. And that's what I really want to encourage people. You get to hear our stories tonight. But I don't eat a salad because I'll feel different at 2 p.m. A salad for lunch because I'll feel different at 2 p.m. I eat a salad because I know it's good for me. And that's really the beauty about Juice Plus, is it makes logical sense that we would invest, like Amy said, into our health. And so I was just excited, so excited to get on this product with zero expectations. So I was pretty shocked when 2 months in, I hadn't had my first sinus infection. I also, similar to Brendan, I live in St. Louis. We have terrible allergies here. It sounds like Kansas City is pretty bad too. But my whole life, I just had terrible allergies, that would lead to sinus infections. I would be on antibiotic about every 6 to 8 weeks. That was so much my normal that I didn't even think it was weird. And so 2 months in, I hadn't had one, and that was awesome to me. And now here I am 4.5 years later. I have not been on an antibiotics for a sinus infection in 4.5 years. And just what that has done for my health is profound, because we know when we take an antibiotic and it harms our good gut bacteria, you're kind of having to rebuild. So that's been awesome. I also found I had more energy. I found that I was happier, which I learned later that over 80% of our serotonin is made in our gut. So it makes sense. So you start feeding your gut well, you're going to feel better. You're going to be happier. And then our omegas came along. And at that point, I was having these episodes every afternoon where my face would get really red and my mind would feel like it was going 1,000 miles a minute, but my body would feel like it was in slow motion, which I believe is anxiety. I never got diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure that's what I was dealing with. And I got on the omegas, and I don't know how long, maybe a couple months, I wasn't paying attention. I noticed those episodes were gone. And I thought that it was my own growth and that I was just doing really well handling stress. And then it took me, like Kristen just said, we're not unique in the amount of people that have seen a change in their anxiety with being on the omegas. So it took me hearing that story from many other people to realize that that was likely a factor. And I love those omegas. And again, my kiddos get to have it every day, which I love. So what we really want to invite you to do now is just one of three things. Maybe you're feeling pumped up just to make some dietary changes. Maybe you're just ready to eat more fruits and vegetables on your own. Wherever you're at, we want to help you do what's a good next step for you towards a healthier lifestyle. So that it would be awesome. Number two, maybe you want to add in Juice Plus. It is the most affordable and simple way that we know to get a massive amount of nutrition into busy families. We have an amazing program where any adult who takes Juice Plus can sponsor any child for free. So age 4 through 18, they can get it for free for up to 4 years. So please ask the person who invited you about that. And it is just, you can get on Juice Plus for less than what I spend on Starbucks every single day. So that is amazing. And then finally, if you heard this information and you thought of people in your life, like, oh my gosh, my mom, my sister, my cousin, they need to hear about this. That's how we feel. We feel like it's amazing that they put kale and broccoli into a capsule. And personally, I believe every mom needs to know that that's out there. Or chewable. There are chewables for the kiddos. So if you thought of people, please let us know, because that really is our mission, is to inspire healthy living around the world. And we would love to get this information to the person that you thought of and let them know about this amazing solution. So at this point, I'm going to